Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap, March 27th, 2024. I am Nick here with Quinn, and we are here to talk about manga on this Wednesday of Wednesdays. It's the last Wednesday of March.
It's not. Yeah, it's the last Wednesday of March. For a second, it felt like I was about to correct you. No, it's not, Nick. I just had words poorly, which isn't
We
a great.
all know that March has 35 days.
Yeah.
In it, so.
Nick, you know the old poem goes 31 in January, something, something. Anyway, March has a bunch more. Yeah, you know, the Ides of March are over. Where March is supposedly, quote unquote, supposed to be leaving like a lamb. That whole adage that doesn't work anymore because we fucked the planet up.
Yeah, it rained pretty hard on my way home from work today, so I don't think that's happening.
Like 3 trees have been had huge pieces just ripped apart at my house the past week. So this is a bitch of a lamb. This is like a real fucking shithead lamb. But you know,
one of those rams that has like the horns that curl around into like 3 circles that because they've grown in so much.
Yeah.
That it's that kind of lamb.
Yeah, like the lamb from The Witch. I think it was a goat, but it's like, you know, has four legs, hooves, same shit really, you know. You know The Witch, right?
Yeah.
We're famously huge horror fans. You know The Witch, Nick.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know The Witch. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I saying? Where are we going with this?
March.
It's always like a great sign when you're like, how's this episode functioning? What are we trying to accomplish here? Yeah. March. It sucks. Fuck it. I don't I'm ready. I'm ready for the next month. March sucks now. March used to be kind of cool. Again, before we blew up the planet, and like it was cool to get like a shit month that just like eased into a nice month. Now it just sucks. It just fucking sucks now. And then April gets better for a little bit. It does start off great though. You don't know why?
Why is that?
Because Nick's birthday's at the start of the month.
God damn it.
I'm gonna draw everyone's attention to it. In lieu of getting me gifts this year, everyone get Nick gifts.
We're not going to be recording on my birthday this year because then at least it's like slightly different. So,
do you like to record on your birthday?
No.
What do you like to do on your birthday?
Nothing. I am the most reclusive hermit.
All right, we're all gonna find something wild and wacky to do on Nick's birthday.
No.
Now, did you ever watch Parks and Rec?
I've seen Parks and Rec. I haven't really watched it in a while because like half the cast turned out to be dicks. So
it's very true. It's a real understanding. Do you remember the episode with Ron's birthday?
Yes, I do remember that. That's a great I do love Ron. As a character, and you know what I wish all libertarians were like. But yeah, that bit where he's like, I do not want you to have an increasingly difficult series of riddles. Please do not do that. I would like that. Please do that very much. Thank you very much.
Oh my god, you would love like a riddle, a puzzle treasure hunt.
We did an escape room for my birthday a few years ago. My family and I.
That's so cool.
And it was a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
would like that. I don't know if it like a series of increasingly complicated riddles that I would get frustrated eventually, but
nope. This is going to be a Cypher Academy style, 1 star up to 6 stars, 7 stars. I think 7 stars was like dissolving countries' economies or something.
Right, something like that. No more war ever, kind of thing.
Yeah. So we'll see if you can get to that point. There will be a special extra birthday present if you can solve the 7 star.
Yeah, that's the only way that I get to have the veto in the bank is if I solve all my birthday riddles.
All right. Well, we've wasted enough time, and plans need to start being put into fruition. So everybody, get on that. Let's start by talking about manga. Now, there's no My Hero Academia this week.
Yep.
I don't know if this was one that was listed as like a sudden thing or anything like that, or just Horikoshi looking for, a healthy break. So I don't believe I heard anything to the contrary. So hopefully we'll get some more My Hero soon. So we're going to be starting with Undead Unluck, Chapter 200, Regaining Lost Ground. I don't know why Undead Unluck being at Chapter 200 seems like low to me.
It does feel like a lot more has happened because of the pace that the series maintained so consistently. I mean, we thought that this series was ramping up to its finale around this time a year ago.
Yes.
And instead it turned out, no, it was just preparing for what seems like is like its second half, given how long it has been at this point. Because it does not seem like this is going to end for at least another good year. It just seems to have that kind of momentum behind it at this point. So, yeah, it does not feel like it's only been 4 years of Undead Unluck. I know we have not been covering it for that period of time due to a rocky start that it had. Yeah, Chapter 200. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I love this movie poster-ass opening page for this chapter.
Yes, very cool color page. We get to see language and some of the characters involved. It is good stuff. We start this chapter in a flashback to the previous loop where Nico single-handedly defeats UMA Language. And Nico just says, sorry, there's no way my ability would lose. I win Language. And Language, as they are disappearing, by the way, Nico's just chilling. He's making himself fucking coffee.
Did not seemingly have to push himself very hard for this.
No. Language just notes, like, this is the first time I've lost to someone besides Injustice. And Nico was confused by it. He's like, wait, how do you know Juez? And Language just smiles. And she's like, oh, right. You don't know about next time. And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, you're going to find out soon enough. Lang, that's what she calls herself, doesn't have the privilege to tell you that. Lan is the 8th seat of the Master Rules Language. And asks Nico who he is. And he says, 8th seat of Union, unforgettable Nico. And she says, good, I'll make sure to remember you until the day we meet again. And we cut to the present where Language is looking at Nico saying, I never forgot you. Not for the past 4.6 billion years have I forgotten for a single second the disgrace you showed me. And Nico's like, wait, you know me? No, you know the old me. Because he knows about loops, but he does not know about Unforgettable. And she says, yes, let's begin. For the first time in 4.6 billion years, your ability and Language's ability will face off in the ultimate game. Hey, where the fuck's your ability? What happened to Unforgettable? And she's like looking around, like she's like shifting around it.
Like it's going to show up.
Yeah, like it'll be on his back.
It's his tramp stamp, that's where his secret ability is kept.
Okay, Nick, start ranking negators based off of how likely they are to have a tramp stamp. Nico?
Not 0. Probably something that Ichico gave him as a prank, I would say. I would say, like 50%.
Okay.
It's possible. Andy, 100%.
Yes.
He's got one. There is no way he doesn't have one.
It's weird. He's naked so frequently, but spiritually, he definitely has one.
Absolutely.
Billy feels like he would have one.
I don't know. Billy is canonically like kind of a family man.
He's a wife guy.
Yeah, so I don't know. That dude was is also like a little bit too old for that kind of trend, because we're talking like tramp stamps were big 20 years ago, and then fell off a little bit, but weren't really a thing until that point. I don't think so. I think that he might be a little bit too old for that.
Okay.
And then almost everyone is too young. That's in Union too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I assume people still get tramp stamps, right? Or is that
Some
just...
people do, absolutely.
I was gonna say,
I'm
I
just
was like,
saying it
did
was a
that
big-
just completely disappear? They're like, look,
No.
once people stopped wearing low-rise jeans everywhere, like tramp stamps were gone.
I mean, everyone that's in like that Jewiz, Gina age range of this group, they're too young to want to get that kind of tattoo.
Well, you're referring to Julia, because Juez would have been an adult, and I think she could have definitely gotten a tramp stamp.
She probably could have.
No.
Julia would not get a tramp
No.
stamp.
Oh, gosh, no.
No.
Anyway.
And if she did, then she would be very, very, very professional about it, and tip the tattoo artist handsomely, and would be very nice about it. And everyone would be like, "Wow, what a classy tramp stamp that is!" That's
it's a tramp stamp, and in the middle of it has like a little like buttoned up tie. You're just like,
what a refined tramp stamp you have.
this is very formal. Thank you. Nico is like unforgettable. What are you talking about? And remembers that he is supposed to get an ability, but Fuko is doing everything in her power to keep it from ever manifesting, to keep him happy. So he doesn't even know the names. This is his first time hearing it. So, he's remembering all that, and he's like, this unforgettable must have been the destiny I'm supposed to gain, basically. And Language, not happy about this. She gets very like dark and upset. There's like a shadow cast over her eyes. She's like, no, I'm not going to allow it. I've wanted this rematch for 4.6 billion. They keep hammering in this time. She's remembered it to be 4.6 billion years. You're going to gain it right here, right now.
It's good to know that in Undead Unluck, God exists and is real, and did, in fact, put a bunch of stuff in the universe to fuck with humans. Like all the fossils stuff. They were put there to fuck with humans. The age of the Earth is still 4.6 billion years.
Yeah. It's really just like, look, there's not a lot of action happening for about 99% of this. Unless you know how to watch Undead get crushed by dinosaurs for a while. But I guess there's an even longer amount of time there weren't even dinosaurs. It's just him sitting in the water being like, I guess I'm drowning. I don't know. Boiling alive. This sucks. We cut over to Fuko. Fuko is rushing towards Union headquarters. She realizes something's going on. She's speeding on the cloud, and a couple of the people riding make noises. So she's like, okay, we could still make screams. We could still make sounds, but they've taken language from us. So that must mean that language is the one who's activated, and that means something. I think I know where language is going. Essentially, she remembers, and this is a real detail. People pointed this out, that in the previous loop there was a thing where UMA language was up for fight, and Nico was the one to solely tackle her, and she was there to see that, so she knows Nico is probably going to be the one targeted here. And that's where we cut back to, as language with sharp, monstrous teeth just saying, so, what will your tragedy be? And Fuko knows that if they're going to try to make a tragedy for Nico, it's going to involve Ichico. And that's all it takes. Language just looks over, sees Ichico, her eyes dart, and she fires something out of her book. I assume we'll get to see what this sort of is more clearly in the future. It looks like it's just like an arrow shoots out of the book.
It looks like an arrow from this vantage point. I mean, it could mean multiple things. It could be like it's a pen, or it could mean that she can just summon what the hell ever out of her book, because it's language.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So she hits Ichico right through the chest, pierces her, and language is immediately taunting. She's like, "Ooh, language is good that you're easy enough for her to kill. Now your old ability will manifest. Let's do it. Unforgettable versus language in the ultimate." And Ichico's little soul's like, "Whew, thank goodness I used astral projection to keep myself from dying."
Wiping her sweat from her head with her hair, which is a great touch.
Yeah, her ghost face or soul face that has no sweat from it.
Yeah, it can still perspire.
Nico's, of course, panicking. He's like, "Oh gosh, her heart, no!" And Ichigo's just like, hey, Nico, do so. Oh my gosh, can you still not see me? This is ridiculous. Like, how darn hard-headed are you? Just save me, idiot. Souls actually exist. We've talked about this. And Language is like, why don't you die for Lang and the others?
Ooh.
Yeah, she's real upset. She's like, this sucks. And Nico, hearing that's like, wait, Ichigo's safe? Oh, right, souls. Like, we kind of established this a while ago. And Language is like, this is stupid. You're not going to be able to even, like, attack me in that state. And your movements are slow. See how useless of a negator you are? Why don't you just die and then Nico will get stronger? And that's, like, just the better option. And Chico's like, no! Why should I die for this stupid loser? He sucks! Like, it's unclear how much Nico gets of this, because he's like, huh? But...
He seems to pick up that she is insulting him, despite not being able to see or hear her. Yes.
Yeah. He's just like, hey. And she just says, like, look, I respect Fuko's choice. Like, Fuko hasn't been adding us to the team simply as a means to slay God. Like, she is making our happiness in this loop her top priority. And I'm sure Nico would get stronger if he had this unforgettable thing or whatever, but Fuko's ideal vision of the future has him not getting that. So I'm not going to let it manifest. You're not going to kill me. Fuck you. I am never going to die. I'm going to keep living like you've never seen someone live before. No, I'm going to go above that. We're going to take you down right here.
She is just a bodiless soulhead
Yes.
in this point, and she's talking smack like, oh, we're going to get you. Like, all right.
Language says, Apocalypse, you can make that happen, can't you? Tell her to grant these 2 seats this instant, or I'll magnify the effects of my ability to cover the entire world and bring the world to global financial collapse. And Apocalypse is like, this isn't really what the rules for. Like, you're supposed to kind of be a thing they fight with each other about.
Right.
But they've already established this is just going to be how it works. Fuko gets this message, just responds back mentally, I call, and she's transferring over the points from Unbreakable and Unstoppable to give Ichico and Nico the 12th and 13th seats. So thus, we have the parameters for our match. UMA Language versus Unsleep and Un yet to manifest.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we've got someone with no abilities and someone whose only ability is sleeping. So good luck, guys.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this goes. I'll be curious to see if we go through this whole thing with Nico never getting unforgettable, or if more like Billy, they'll be like, you do get unforgettable, but there's like a different qualification to it, so you don't have to remember all the depressing shit.
Right. I mean, there are certain other people where you definitely hope where it's not going to be the exact same it is before, such as Untouchable.
Yes.
It's like, hopefully that'll manifest differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we are. I really like the setup for this and establishing that, like, hey, we had this stuff with Beast and it was just a big old fight. This one's gonna have to be different, but how different? And is Fuko gonna be able to help them at all in this?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. This looks like it might just be the 2 of them. Curious stuff. I really do appreciate that Ichigo gets to, like, avoid being like, she makes a very specific point, like, I'm not gonna get fridged for this loser. No, fuck that.
No, I am not going to do that.
I want more women in, like, comics and media to refuse to be fridged. So, like, for this Dorcas, absolutely not. But like, I cannot be the motivation for a character this fucking lame.
Just getting shoved into a fridge and her hand comes out and says, hey,
no!
What are you doing?
For Guy Gardner? It's not even my favorite Green Lantern. That's, oh no, it's Kyle Rayner's
It was Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, okay. They're all not Jon Stewart, so. I'm sorry, I watched the cartoon. I'm a bad person.
All right.
The Green Lantern should be serious. The Flash should be funny. That's my hot take.
All right. Blue Box, Chapter 142, Final Game. I think the score changed from how it was in the previous one, but I could be wrong about that. It's a very tight matchup between Haru and Taiki. Haru is leading by 1 point halfway through the third and final game of their match, so anyone could win this still.
Yes.
We see Nishida, observing, and he's thinking to himself, about the time that he spent with Haru. They're 3 years together. And how Haru imparted on him, like, hey, I want to be the kind of person who can like win a game with smashes. And she's like, okay, but that's not gonna work. You need to increase the accuracy of all your other shots. And she is like, you become first rate and everything too. So, aw.
I hope there's
Kyo?
no dramatic turn of events to that particular statement.
Kyo
Kyo.
is rooting on his buddy Taiki, and he, is thinking to himself, like, how all the effort that Taiki has put into this, prepping for this, is like, after he's come this far, he's got to go to nationals. But Haru hits the shuttlecock, and as he returns it, he has to duck down to do so. He flashes back to a practice that they had before, and how whenever Haru would hit a drop shot at him, Taiki would be caught off guard. And he's like, yeah, you weren't ready for the drop shot again. Just because there's all these smashes, don't go assuming that's going to be coming next. And Taiki, complained back, like, you're too good at switching up your shots. This is not fair. So, yeah. But as he returns the shot, in the present, Haru goes for a drop, and Taiki is able to return it. He manages to flick it back over. And as they do this, they flash back to a moment where Haru taught him this kind of return, this hairpin shot. It's like, this is the way that it should go. And he's able to return it, and Haru tries to return that back, and it hits the net, and Taiki gets the point.
How does this is like a stupid question, but they have never answered any questions about the way badminton is played in the sport. Is this like a one-touch game? Like, if you get it, you have to just immediately, like tennis, essentially. You can't like, bounce it back or anything. But unlike tennis, there's no bounce that you have to like do.
There's no bounce.
Okay.
It's basically tennis, except there's no bounce.
Okay.
Yeah. There's more drift to it because the shuttlecock has the net on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very fast-paced game. So, there's even more flashbacks. There's like a goofy moment where Nishida teamed up with Kyo and Taiki 3-on-1 against Haru because they were so sick of all losing to him. But Taiki keeps on going, and he's thinking to himself as he keeps playing, I've learned so many things from Haru Senpai. I had so much fun going to practice. I'm more confident now than I was last year, and it's all thanks to Haru Senpai. And the score keeps progressing between them. It's still tightly knotted up. It gets 19-19, first to 21 wins. And as they keep on going, we suddenly got into this big old collage of various moments of, Nishida bursting into the classroom and grabbing Haru and being like, hey, come on, let's go to practice. Yeah. Meeting, having Taiki come across them and, talking about like, oh, did you guys like watch the French Open and stuff? And just having a good time, hanging out, challenging each other to, a little rally. Taiki saying, hey, let's have a light rally. And Haru was like, what do you mean a light rally? Come on. Are you sure that that's enough? He's like, fine, then let's go all out. Just stupid high schoolers being full of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And Haru goes up for a smash, just jumps up into the air, a big full page spread. He smashes the shuttlecock, and Taiki is able to return it. It drifts up into the air. And as this is playing out, Haru thinks to himself, even situations like this are fun. Badminton, and he smashes the shuttlecock one more time. Taiki is not able to return it. And everyone realizes that it is just barely out of bounds. And Taiki's score gets flipped from 20 to 21. And Taiki wins as Haruyu finishes the thought, badminton is fun. And everyone like starts tearing up. Chinatsu tears up. Karen's clearly like distraught because her boyfriend just lost. And the last of the chapter is Haruyu crying as he realizes what's happened, wincing, and he thinks it was so much fun.
Yeah. What a great chapter. This was like an emotional one. As I was reading it, I was like, oh, maybe Taiki is going to lose here. Like,
No, I was the exact opposite. I was like, halfway through, I was like, Haru's losing. Like, there is no way.
there was a brief moment, I guess, as I was reading where I was like, I think Taiki might win this. And then, like, as you get further, you're like, oh, no. I mean, I sort of expected this, but this is just a great chapter about why sports series are fucking emotionally amazing series. You know, this thing of, like, being able to root for somebody who loses, and then them having to face that pain is just one of the things that makes it so awesome as like a genre, or I guess style of story. I don't know, but it's awesome. Like, it's sad. Like, I feel for Haruyu, and this chapter did a great job at like giving this guy some character who has always seemed like very much the very sort of serious, cool guy, and then you just him being like, no, this shit's fun. This shit was really fun.
Yeah. Just knowing that it's all behind him now. Because he had said, like, I'm not going to do it in college. I'm just going to be done afterwards. Because I want to do other stuff with my life.
Yeah.
But
great.
Being able to acknowledge that it was that way. And I also love Taiki's expression when he wins. Because he's just like, I won. Like, you can't believe it. So, sad chapter, great chapter. Cool.
It makes next chapter feel like it is going to be really, really good, because there's going to be a lot of fallout to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gonna be consequences, not just for the result of it, but also, you know, some of the stuff that was happening in the bleachers while this was happening. So yeah, on to the next bit of Blue Box, and on to the next chapter of Chainsaw Man.
Boom, 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 boom.
It's chapter 160, That for Which the Heart Beats. The Katana Man has just come bursting in, accompanied by the Nail Devil person. And they're in, Asa and Fami are in trouble. Asa asks, like, can you use that power? No response. Not Asa saying that, actually, Yoru says that. So Yoru's like, okay, yeah, got it. But then the Katana Man points his hand / katana at Yoru and is like, wait a minute, I know her. You're that Chainsaw Man church woman, Asa Mitaka. You're the devil fighting high school girl. The poem collection she thought of during her classes goes on sale next month. And Yoru transforms back into Asa to blush over her.
I mean, it's adorable she did that. This is also one of the funniest details they've noted. It's just Asa has a poem collection she thought up during school.
Just stuff that she, I guess, you know, like, wrote when she was being a teenager. Yeah. You know, that's all. So the Nail Devil looks at Katana Man and is like, are you a fan? And the Katana Man's like, no! No, the world sucks because of Chainsaw Man. This happened because brats like you, little kids whose body hair is barely grown in, worshipped an idiot like a god. It's like my granddad always said, it's idiots and religion that make the world worse. Your granddad sounds pretty smart.
Yeah, your granddad sounds like every granddad I've ever met.
So, Nail Devil's like, aren't you like a former member of the Yakuza? Aren't you a bad guy? And the Katana Man says, the Yakuza aren't bad guys. They're heroes protecting Japan from behind the scenes.
Okay.
All right.
I don't remember if the Katana Devil really had much of a character before. It's been a very long time since that arc. I do love this idea that he's just like a fucking he's just a dorky, naive, like teenager mentality, basically, where he's just like, no, the Yakuza are they're the only ones keeping this country running. What do you think about it?
Haven't you ever played Like a Dragon? Come on. So, the eye patch guy who called them here is like, come on, samurai, nail, cut the chatter, kill those kids. But Asa goes, wait, stop. You're saying that you don't like Chainsaw Man, right? And Samurai, I guess, says, yeah, I got a score to settle with him. He killed my granddad. So Asa's like, well, we're here to fight Chainsaw Man. And immediately the Devil Hunters Club president is like, wait, what? We'll fight him? And Asa's like, yeah, if you want to fight Chainsaw Man, we'll take you to him. We could have a truce. And Samurai's like, so Chainsaw Man's here? Well, you didn't know what you were guarding? No, I guess.
Just so quiet.
So again, the eye patch guy says, like, come on, obey my orders. But Samurai, after a second, says, orders? You mean you're ordered to defend my granddad's murderer by killing these brats? And eye patch is like, I mean, if you disobey me, you can forget about your syndicate's comeback. And you, Nail, your dream of freedom to open a business would never be more than that. Merely a dream. Your best bet is to do as I say. Now shut up and kill those kids.
I like that there was a vague enough detail. Look, I'm not getting attached to Nail. Like, even if I really like them, this is a character who's going to die. I've read enough Fujiroto stuff to know. But I like that there was like enough of a detail there for the fan fiction artists, writers out there to be like, the AU where Nail survives and happily opens up business. It's just enough to be like, I can work with this. This was the one detail I needed to get this universe started. Like, all I needed to know about the Violence Devil is he doesn't like to eat ice cream, but he likes to watch others eat it. And I was like, boom. I could do fucking 400 books on this.
So, yeah, Nail Devil is just like, I've got everything I need to run my business now. I've got real estate. I've got filing cabinets, 401k forms, and phones. And that's all you need to run a business.
So, like, what does your business do?
Business? Come on.
It's a business store.
Plus, I've got this tie from when I was working for the Devil Hunters Association. So, I'm already dressed for the part to do business.
Uh-huh.
Would you like a business? Because
I could wrap it up for you. They're like, I don't think the Nail Devil knows what a business is. I don't think he understands.
Oh my god. So Nail Devil says, like, it kind of sucks killing kids all the time. This is like cartoonishly evil. What do you think, Samurai? And Samurai says, sorry. Killing Chainsaw Man is the reason this heart still beats. And eye patch guy is like, you were right. I never should have joined the special division. Says that to the woman that he was indicating was his wife previously. So I guess that is his wife. Anyway.
Or he's just really keeping up a big grand facade. Yeah.
Yeah. He tries to bamf behind them, and Katana Man swipes an arm, and then he just like vanishes after missing. So yeah, they're like, "What? Why are you running away?" He's like, "I'm not gonna take all of you on." Are you
kidding me? Fuck this. I'm like a dude. I'm just a guy.
Samurai says to Yoru, "Hey, if you get me to that piece of crap Chainsaw Man, I'll let you live." The Devil Hunter president says, "But if we get to meet Chainsaw Man, we should be doing something more important, right? Why would we fight him? That's so stupid." And Yoru says, "You think fighting is stupid? The reason my heart's beating is to fight Chainsaw Man." And she holds her arm really weirdly. Like, I think that having one arm is causing her to have to contort it at weird angles.
Yes.
Samurai's take on this is, I'd expect no less from Chainsaw Man's woman. She's already stealing my lines, which is just like the most weirdly bitter thing. Just such a weird detail to focus on.
Well, he's like, Chainsaw Man's fucking stealing my style, and his fucking girlfriend stealing my lines. Like, fuck this fucking guy. But at the same time, this is a tenuous alliance. I also like that he's just like, hey, high school loser. Like, hey, fuck you. Good stuff. Oop.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say just good stuff like this chapter. I do hope we start to move because I feel like we are slowly getting back into that place Chainsaw Man was before the Asa stuff kicked in, where like it was kind of starting to get slow and drag out a little bit. So I am hoping we pick it up a little bit.
Yeah. I think that we have kind of like spent a little bit of time in this hallway at this point. But I guess we kind of needed to establish who all the players were as we move forward if we're going to have a whole bunch of people beyond just Fami and Asa/Yoru involved in this.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's move on to Kaiju number 8, B-side, Chapter 6, Goddess of Destruction. Kikoru tests the full blade weapon on some crab guys. Because yes, Hoshina said that asked her if she liked crab because was gonna test the weapon against some crabs. And there's a little bit of backstory that they give them, which is that they found this kaiju. Rather, some high schoolers found it. One of the students was attacked, had a right leg severed, and they sneak around it, and they're weird crabby guys, and they've got really tough shells. So Kikoru deals with the first one, chops it apart, and kills it. Dashes over to another one, chops it apart and kills it. Goes to a bigger one and chops into it, but it's got a really, really tough shell, and she can't penetrate it initially. She's got to kind of pull back and chop that one in half later on. So, yeah, Kikoru gets on Hoshina's case for saying, like, when you asked if I like crabs the other day, it's like, yeah, I'm glad that I checked if you had any allergies. Because I guess crab guts would be getting all over her.
And I guess these are genetically similar to non-kaiju crabs. Yeah. It is an interesting detail that these kaiju B-sides have established like very animalistic kaiju, which I don't think kaiju in the regular story have all just been kind of like generic abomination kind of things to my memory. Maybe insectoid a little bit, but here they're just like lizard kaiju, crab kaiju, everyone for every little color you'd like. There is also a note very early on in the chapter as she's being transported there. She sees a case and they're like, yes. What's in that? And they're like, oh, that's another failed experiment. So I assume that's the axe. Like she's going to try to fight this Hanju, can't get through it. She's like, I'm going to try this. And it's the axe. And she's like,
it'll work.
Yeah. And this is legitimately just a story to be like, how did Kikoru get her axe?
And the backstory is apparently going to be she found it in a box, I guess. Like there's got to be an explanation that goes into this, right? Because this full blade was made for her with her specs in mind. And I guess the failed experiment is the axe that she's just going to randomly grab and it's just going to work. So there's going to have to be an explanation for why the, blacksmiths that work with the Kaiju Elimination Squad are going to just not be good at designing weapons for people.
Yeah.
And just like, this random thing that we came up with works way better.
Someone was like, hey, she was like, hey, why did you make a sword for me? I definitely wanted to use like an axe or something. And the dude's like, sorry, I'm just like really deep into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I just thought everyone should be using Buster swords. Right. I'm so sorry. It's my childhood.
Oh boy, but that's it. That's the B-side for this week.
Are we going to keep up reading B-side? I had to ask this question. We didn't have a ton to say.
After this story, I don't know. Like this
was
seemingly just like
huge downtip in quality from the Hoshino story.
Yeah, there's just not a lot going on with this particular story. Maybe if the next one is just like, and she got the axe, we'll just kind of give it a skip. And I do know that we are getting actual Kaiju number 8 main series tomorrow, so we'll have that to cover next week.
Yeah.
So maybe once that drought ends, we'll reconsider having it.
Yeah, I do appreciate getting to see a couple different characters like interact, and like we get more of like Ashino, which is cool. But at the same time, marriage toxin. So Nick, let's talk about Eden Zero Chapter 281, Lady Freya. So Cure was defeated, Nick, as we all remember, iconically.
Took the appropriate amount of time to do it, too.
Yep.
Let's be real. So
all the tentacles release, freeing everybody, and they're all like, "Wow, you did it, Jin! You saved us."
Sorry, just out of context. All the tentacles release, freeing everyone. It's like, that's what happens.
They're all like, well, it's they follow the blockbuster movie philosophy that once the head tentacle is dead, all the other tentacles fail in response. They also note, they're like, Jin, you really did a number on the ship. Clean is like, hey, I'm flying, but
I'm flying here.
I'm flying over here. They make a point that the Eden's one morphs like guns and starts shooting, and they're like, it's firing at us, and it's like, what do you mean? Why do you say that like it's a surprise?
Never in a space battle did I think that people would be shooting at us.
They're chasing us with their ship. That's fine. But using guns on us? That we can't fire back. That's illegal. But it turns out the reason they're surprised they're firing on them, this is so stupid, is because they're like, but they sent their own people here, meaning Cure and Lady Freya. And it's like, what?
I don't know what bad guys you've been watching this entire series, but yes.
Yeah, of course they will.
They kill each other, yes.
These dudes suck. Valkyrie is like, wait, where's Homura? And Jin's like, she went to go take care of the other intruder because, again, it was just very randomly determined that myself, Clean, and Homura were the only ones to escape being tentacled. There was no effort on any of our parts. So she just was like, I'm the best with swords. I'll go deal with it. So we cut over to that fight. Of course, Nick, if you've forgotten, Homura is naked because I'd actually pause and remember it's because Lady Freya cut all of her clothes off as like a scary move. But this battle,
yes, a scary move. Yes, it was so. People were posting online everywhere, crying, screaming in horror when Homura got her clothes cut off.
Yeah,
it's like, do not take your kids to go and see this, not because of the nudity, but because of the clothes being cut off.
It's like those horror movie trailers that they're like, we strapped heartbeat monitors up to these people for all the scary scenes in our movie, and it's just Homura having all of her clothes cut off, and people screaming. It's like people sharing it like, it's like that one Insidious jump scare in the daylight. Like, you have to see this. Homura getting her clothes cut off. It'll change how you read horror. They're fighting in the bathroom. Not the bathroom. It's like a lagoon or something. Lady Freya's kind of kicking her ass. Homura activates her overdrive, so she's like ready to fight now. Lady Freya says some line. She's like, I didn't think fighters like you still existed. And Homura just repeats the line she used last time. Like, this is where the crew comes for rest and relaxation. Leave. Cool.
You're all wet.
Yeah. I would love this chapter, unironically, a lot more if it was more like that. The Eden Zero is still attacking them. Like, they're getting shot. They're like, Homura's confused. She's like, wait, don't they know that you're here? And Lady Freya says, oh, he knows. The One knows everything. He himself gave the final order to destroy the Zero. And Homura's like, well, wait, then why are you here? She's like, I came here to die. That's right. There's no one who is stronger than me. So I have no opponents left to fight, basically. And she's like, that's stupid. So
yes.
You're just gonna like, you can't find anyone better than yourself. You choose to die. She's like, well, actually, I would like to fight Void. But Void is from the future. And
so, by technicality, it would not count as anyone from this time being stronger than me, so I would not gather any satisfaction from it. Because you see, my thirst for competition has a lot of, like, it's very particular. It's got to be, like, there's a certain level of bounds around it, so it's like, once I get to everything to within here, that's like, well, I guess I can't be satisfied by anything, because that's how warriors think.
There's an insect planet where there's a centipede swordsman with 100 swords, and I'd like to fight him, but he has 100 swords. It would never really be a contest. So again, there's like an echelon of like individuals I would love to fight, but unfortunately, different worlds. And I've beaten everyone in my weight class essentially. So
yeah, this is like when you have like a cruiserweight champion who is like, well, I've beaten everyone in the cruiserweight division, so I'm bored now. There's no one who could possibly challenge me. But the idea is like, oh, well, you're just a cruiserweight, though. If you were to challenge any of these heavyweights, so he's like, but I'm sorry, you're too heavy. You know, it doesn't count. It's like, it's a hypocritical thing. But it's like, no, this is the strongest swords person in the universe who is supposed to be like a scary final boss. So why is she like, oh, but it wouldn't count if that person beat me in battle? Like, what the fuck? It
is a very strange statement. You were like joking before, but you were very much like in her philosophy, which is just like, no, he's from the future, wouldn't count. Like, it's a very foolish and strange like thought process to work from. So she's like, the idea of fighting him seems empty, and I'm tired of fighting and killing and living. And Hermit's like, or not Hermit, Homora's like, look, if you want to die, that's fucking fine, you know, but get off my ship and do it first. And Lady Freya's like, look, I was actually kind of okay with that idea, but then you proved to be somewhat interesting. You'll never defeat me, but you will be my perfect final playmate. It's very confusing.
Why?
Thought process. I'm like, is it? If her chances are 0, is she not as equally interesting of a fight as everyone else whose chance would be 0? Couch Po, you will be my final worthy opponent. Homora's like, 0%, you're overconfident. Lady Freya's like, no, I can calculate the numerical value of my opponent's ether powers. She literally has a little eye that starts doing it. And Homura charges at her, and she says, oh, I see there's actually someone on the ship with a higher sword power level than you. She just says higher power level, but I assume like witch would also be included in that somewhere. Who cares?
Oh my god. What an insult of just like all the shining stars. Like, oh no, I'm also a better swordswoman than Homura. I've never done it before, but I'm just better than her.
Yeah, it was actually really fucked up and insulting that you made her a shining star in the last universe. We want to make that very clear right now. So they're like, yeah, your ether power level, which also translates to your sword skill, I guess? Or is it just that my sword is, like, cooler than your sword? Who gives a shit? Fucking Lady Freya's like, ooh, Valkyrie, this will be very interesting. And Homura tries to attack her, and Lady Freya, in a 2-page spread, just fucking murks Homura. Fucking cross X, fucking finishing blows her. And for a moment, Nick, I was like, you know what? This is a chapter that did not end a conflict in Eden Zero, so it gave time to build it up. It has a villain defeat someone, which gives them, like, weight and merit. I kind of went over this all last week with Cure. Like, Lady Freya got a victory, an important win. So that's, like, a cool thing. And, like, it gives motivation. Like, a character lost, they want to get better. And then I flipped the page, and fucking Lady Freya's like, by the way, power scaling at this point, like, I need to let you know what your power level is. It's 620,000, and mine is 75 million. Like, eat shit. What is, like, you can't just be like, your power is 11D, but my power is 73 gazillion. Like, who gives a shit? There's no context for this.
So I have a couple of notes.
Okay.
One, as a Homura apologist, basically, because I remember at points when she was like the most interesting character in this series. It was a very brief span of time towards the beginning of it. I have kind of like constantly like, maybe this will be when she finally gets to do something for a long time. It keeps on, nope, not gonna happen. And it feels like that we're heading in that direction again, which if that is the case, and she literally just like beats Amora in order to go and fight Valkyrie, I'm gonna be like, who cares? Like, this doesn't change anything. It just maintains what you had before of like, oh yeah, well, Valkyrie's stronger than Homura. Like, what is that? Why bother having this final contest and have her be involved in it? It's like having Megami be involved at the end of Shokugeki no Soma.
Yeah.
It's like, why is she here? You didn't prove that she got better. You just had her beat someone unimportant again. So all that, all the power leveling stuff, which need I remind everyone, this is chapter 281. What are you doing?
So people are noting that this might be an homage to Toriyama. If it is, awful homage.
Awful homage.
Like, there are
Toriyama eventually decided that power levels should not be in Dragon Ball Z anymore.
There are so many more cool and iconic things in, like, Toriyama's whole catalog to reference. You're a fucking space series. He has so much you could, like, pay like a wink or an homage to. So if his thing truly is just like power levels, it's very, very poor choice. But this is just, I think there's a way this could work where like Valkyrie fights her, and Valkyrie is not doing so well. Like, she's like at least a challenge. Maybe fucking Lady Freya's like, your chance isn't 0, it's actually 2% or some stupid shit like that, and she can't beat her. And this will be dumb, but then Homura will get back up, the two of them team up together, and she's like, wait a minute, I thought your power levels would be additive, but instead they're multiplicative, and now you're defeating me, or whatever. And so they're like, you're a robot, you should know how to say that word. But she doesn't know.
I'm a sword robot.
Not a word robot. They don't make those anymore. But maybe something like that could happen. But then you also question why we had to do the Aknowella Brigadine fights like right next to each other, which felt like that was supposed to be a bit of the Homura Valkyrie like handoff moment. I don't know. This arc feels very poorly constructed, and it feels like Hero reached a point where he's like, fuck, I have another villain. Shit. Fuck.
The other thing I wanted to note, this is a much dumber note, but it's something that kind of occurred to me when I saw a particular panel, and it was like, huh, that's convenient censorship. For a guy who likes drawing boobs so much, Hero's not great at drawing boobs.
No. It's been established. For somebody whose series seems to be like the like vague concept, the notion of being sexy, it is just not sexy anyway.
So there's that scene where during the fight, Homura hasn't. It's right before she does her ether gear thing, so she's still naked. She does a backflip, and it's like based on like how her positioning and stuff. It's like, oh, everything's censored and stuff. But Homura's got a large bosom.
Yes.
And she backflips and is upside down. And those do not shift with gravity at all, apparently.
Well, Nick, of course, well, remember, they're in the bath, so I believe the gravity in that room works differently. It works to, like, make sure all their breasts stay at their, like, most perky like held positions. It's an awful setting, but it empowers them, so that's the important thing.
Yeah, so anyway, greens.
What a transition.
Chapter 16, skill. So it's more of Haku trying to do his golfy thing on his own now that he's been acknowledged by everybody everybody there. So Oliver is also just playing and stuff. Toto and he are kind of like having a casual conversation. Then they talk about how Haku's doing, and he's like, yeah. So my motto is golf without going on any adventures. And right now, Yasaki's second shot is going to be quite the adventure. So he says, like, it's pretty easy to get a birdie on par 5 holes because you've got the bigger score you've got to beat. But he's in the rough right now, which means that next shot to get out of there is going to basically decide the outcome of the hole. So Haku is like hunkered down next to his ball. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do for his shot. And he asks, like, how far is it to the hole? He gets the measurement. And he said, I guess what I could just do is just, like, hit it onto the fairway, and then I would have a much easier time dealing with it. And it wouldn't matter what kind of club I used or how I hit it from there. But then he thinks about what Oga did in the last chapter, very boldly going for it in order to show what she could do. And Haku's like, am I going to be okay with that, though? Is that the best I can do? I've learned the importance of playing it safe, but Oga is playing as fiercely as she can, taking me on with everything she's got. And I'm just here thinking about knocking out of the rough. I'm battling it out with Oga. Why am I even considering settling for a decent score with tidy play? And so he gives himself hyped up.
He has a rival.
He's got a rival. He's like, I'm going all out every hole to get as many birdies as possible. So he's really starts to think, is like, what can I do right now? Because I'm one step short of the edge and I'm about to break. So he's got to figure it out. Oga is reflecting on what she was able to pull off previously because she's like, I made it to the green in 2 strokes, no complaints, but I'm not going to let my guard down at this point. You don't know what'll happen until you hole out, which is somehow like a cool thing to say. Like that's such a close thing to like, I don't know if you should be saying that.
Yeah.
Hole out. It's like, hole out. That combination of words, it's fine. That's fine. You can say that with conviction and not sound like you're crazy, but you're very close to it.
Non-sexual things go out of holes. You're good. You're good.
You're good. You're good. But be very careful.
Those are normal things for holes to be doing.
So he's like, he goes between his clubs that he's actually practiced with, the 7 and 8 iron. He's like, but which one should I do? But as he's focusing on it, he remembers the tips that Oga gave him, like really early on, positioning his body and stuff. And so he, practices swinging with one of the clubs and remembers her words, your swing keeps going over the ball. Try swinging like you want to hit the ground. And so he kind of started doing some swings like right next to the ball. He's like just chipping the blades of grass, shaving them off. And he gets this moment of revelation, which looks very demented. Just like, oh!
Yeah, I was like, if that's not an icon in our Discord server, I don't know what I would use that in response to, though. There is one thing I can think of that happens to a person where they make that response, and I don't think it comes up often in our Discord.
So he gets set to hit the ball with the 8 iron, and we get some narration that establishes when you've got a really deep rough, it's still possible to hit a good shot. But thinking about hitting the ball out of the rough adds a lot of mental pressure because the ball is hard to see. So you could snag the turf on the backswing. There could be resistance during your follow through. The club catching for just a fraction of a second results in mistakes, and the rough is already doing its job when you start thinking about it. But Yasaki was wholly focused. His only thought was recreating the ideal shot. To him, the rough had vanished. And he spikes the ball, and it goes flying back down onto the fairway and very, very, very close to the green. So he doesn't quite hit it as quite as good a 2-shot as Oga did because she made the green in that, but he's very close. He's within 20 yards of it. So a good one.
Yes.
So he decides to use his putter, even though he's not on the green from there, because he's not that far from the hole. He zones in on it, and he gets like very close. Like he almost like sinks it in on, and he almost gets an eagle basically.
Yes.
And he goes in and is like, oh, I gotta mark the ball so that I get out of everyone's way. But Oliver's just like, hey, come on, you're in the zone. Just go ahead and do it. And he gets a little blessing from everyone. And Toto gives him a big thumbs up. And Oga's like, ma'am.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Yeah. Morning.
So, yeah, she's getting ready to go to America already, obviously. So, yeah, so he goes up, and they're like, all right, keep your cool. And Haku's like, I'm afraid I could miss even though I'm right here. And I totally understand that. I've only played putt-putt golf, and I totally understand that. I'm within a foot. Don't fuck up.
Yeah, I just have to do this. Please let me just take the shot now.
And he sinks it, which means that he gets a birdie. And he's really pumped up about that because he
wanted one.
all on his own.
And he got two.
He got two birdies, and also this one, he didn't have anyone helping him out. He did it all on his own. No one telling him what to do. He figured it out himself, and he got it all in his own skill and, based on what he's learned.
Yes.
And he's barely 17 years old, too, which is crazy.
Yeah, and he's only been golfing for, like, a couple months. Yeah, so insane growth.
That comes to Oga, who is only on her third shot, and she is on the green. And they're like, hey, if she sinks this, that's an eagle. And Oliver's like, yeah, if she misses, she's probably going to tie with Yaesaki. But Oga assesses where she is, and she's like, it's like 11 yards out. Even, like, pros would have difficulty with this. They probably only make it about, like, 5% of the time. Just getting to within a yard of the hole would be a perfect shot. But even still, I'll show you I can sink this, Yaesaki.
Yes! Yes! Yeah. Rivals!
This is cool as shit. Fucking golf!
I hate that I'm sitting here like, I can't wait to see what happens next in this golf manga. But this is just cool. They have created what feels like a very organic and cool rivalry between these two characters. And I just want to see Oga, like I like Yaesaki, I like him, but I want to see her show him up now. I want her to be like, I've been doing this for years. Like, I will show you that there is a difference between us here, beyond what the final score will be, because ultimately, like, he has so many strokes in the first, like, 3 holes that, like, it's clear he's not going to win there, but she wants to prove she can be pushed and succeed. Like, we've seen her be pushed on the last hole, and she missed. So now I want to see her, like, get her, like, not tilted, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then she's going to realize it's good to have a rival.
Yeah. I really like the way that this is playing out. Because, yeah, you've got, Haku continuing to play well and stuff. He doesn't just immediately regress after he gets the one birdie with help. But you don't want him to, like, suddenly surpass Oga. So it's like, yeah, no, fuck it. She gets even better. Like, yeah. All right. New Exorcist, Chapter 43, The Captain at Sunset. It sounds like a freaking Harlequin romance novel title, honestly. So,
yeah,
but I actually I do like that title, though.
Yeah, so, I want to read The Captain at Night.
The Captain at Sunset.
Oh, yeah, The Captain at Sunset. Ooh, even sexier.
So, Gakuro is at school, having gotten back from his and his squad's adventure, where they managed to all survive everything. And we get a little bit of a recap of, like, the aftermath of the battle. Suo's fine, obviously. Like, everyone's fine. Everyone who got limbs ripped off, they're fine.
Yeah. No scars, by the way, either, of course.
None. Not even that. So, Captain Izuma, something like that. She's like, look, go rest, get recovered, and then get back to work. Nue also apologized because, stuff did kind of go bad for them, but she's like, hey, you did do a good job. And I think that if we assess things objectively, it's like you all survived and you did achieve your goal more than expected. So yeah, you did. But Gakuro doesn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's alone by himself. He's gonna say, I'm sorry. Shitotsu!
It's weird because these are little details that in another series I would find like endearing. Like the lead character is like, oh, they've recognized their own weakness and they have moments of like regret and sadness when they're not around other people. Like they're internalizing all these feelings. But Gakuro is such a like 24/7 fucking loser that you're just like, shut up and get to class. Like you want to throw a book at him. Like fucking get going. Dork.
Just have one of those like school administrators in a tracksuit come by and like, go to class.
It's just like Mortal Kombat uppercuts.
And of course his arm gets ripped off during it because that means nothing in this series.
Yeah.
Shitotsu has shown up in Gakuro's class. I felt like if we had like one more chapter that was like of or above the quality that we've had in the last 2 weeks of new Exorcist, I would have been like, I'm gonna give the series a pass until it starts doing stupid shit again. But instead, it immediately was just like, listen, the most consistent thing about this series, we made this a gag before this was an established recurring bit in the series proper. We're going back to it though. Again, this is the most consistent thing about this that you can count on every time that a freaking female character gets introduced.
Yes.
So Shitotsu. She introduced herself to the class. She pretends that she's transferring here from Malaysia. And then she goes like, oh, big bro, you didn't tell me we'd be in the same class. Points Gakuro out immediately.
It's very. There is also they reuse the joke where all the guys are thinking other guys might not think she's my type, but she totally is. They did this joke before and it was funnier the first time.
It
was.
Also,
in a situation,
it made more sense with the type of character Hoshina was too.
But yeah, because I was like, who would look at this girl and be like, she's not anyone's type but mine. Regardless,
she's such a popular girl type of character.
Yes. But in a situation that is already meant to be reminiscent of a previous joke we've done in this series, to do another one is like one of these things where I'm like,
yeah,
is this almost meta? Like you were like, what if I just did every joke from the last, like to the point of like, what if I just I erase Shiroha or whatever, and I put Shitotsu in instead?
God. So they're like, wait a minute, she's Yajima's little sister? Huh? And then one guy speaks up and he says, oh, hold on, guys. Having a little sister isn't really something to be envious about. They can be kind of scary. They always smack you around. It's like, all right. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. So, well, maybe we won't get on his case about this. And then, of course, Shitotsu says, oh, well, you see, we're not actually blood related. And immediately they all look back.
I understand that it is to get the joke out. That's hot. What in his sentence is alleviated by her saying, oh, but we're not blood related?
Yeah, it doesn't really follow. I'm trying to hold my hand like she holds her hand.
Oh, I was like, Nick, are you okay?
She's got a very long thumb. Like, that's an incredibly long thumb that it, like, goes straight down and then all the way over. And is she, like, contorting it? I guess she's not actually she's not holding the fingers to her palm. Okay, yeah. That's how she does it. So she can curl them more. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, so she's like, we're not related by blood. Oh, everyone's like, oh, it's so hot, Gakuro. How dare you have also a little sister not related to you by blood?
I do think the series would be improved by at least 3 to 4 more girls who are in Gakuro's harem who are all brought into the school and all just say that they're his sister not related to him by blood.
Just keep it going. Why not?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Zeno, we get like a whole panel dedicated to him saying, she has that younger sister vibe, and an arrow points to him saying, has a younger sister. And it's
does
like,
she?
Does she have a younger sister vibe? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
afterwards, they like are eating like they're like having drinks outside of class, and Gaku's like, I didn't know we would be in the same class. Were you okay with telling everyone we're siblings? I thought you didn't really like that sort of attention. All right, that's a detail. And then Shitotsu is immediately just like leaves, but also says, "Meet me after school. We're gonna go visit Father's grave."
She picks
Okay.
up his vibe sucks right now. Like he's
Yeah.
he's even more obnoxious and gawkery than usual. So she's like, fuck this. Okay, we had to do something.
They do that after class. They start walking to go and visit their father's grave. And as they're going, Gaku's like, "How is your arm?" And Shitotsu says, "You idiot! A torn arm will stick back on no problem as long as you didn't lose it."
Yes.
All right, it means nothing. And then they get to the graveyard. Captain Igari is already there. She is visiting the grave, so they all, like light some incense and they offer a prayer to the departed there. And then immediately Igari's like, "I gotta go." But Chutasu's like, "Oh, but I wanted to thank you for like coming out here like this. Maybe I could like buy you some juice or something." And Igari's like, "Oh, okay." And then Chutasu's like, "Hey, Gakuro, give me some money so I can go buy the drinks." Now that's a little sister thing. That's a very little sister vibe thing. If she had done something like that, I could get all the comments they were making about her. Anyway, also Igari does a really weird thing where she like gives Shitotsu her whole ass wallet in order to go buy them drinks, because I guess she doesn't know how much things cost.
I do think this
cost?
this
$5?
is yeah this is very much like a funny action, because I don't know if it is supposed to be like she is like this Lucy Booth, like I don't know how much things cost kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or if she's just like a weird idiot who's just like, here's my wallet, you need money, right?
So that Shitotsu does go by herself to get the drink, so Igari is left with Gakuro in front of his father's grave. And he starts to like say something in the tense moment, and Igari's just like, "Oh, come on, are you still hung up on it?" "What?" "Yeah, I can tell by looking at you. What the hell are you apologizing for?" And he says, "I wasn't able to fulfill my responsibilities as captain. I know I have to stay strong for my allies, and I need to be the one supporting and guiding them, but whenever I think about them getting hurt again, I feel paralyzed by fear." And Igari laughs and says, "What a joke.
Do they
You're
have
no captain."
Yes, she does. Do they have vending machines in graveyards in Japan?
Maybe outside the graveyard.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
In my mind, I'm just like,
It's built into someone's headstone.
Thank you, Mr. Sprite. This is very convenient that we were buried next to the Pib family. I'm sure it is just outside, but there was like a moment of like, how much would it suck if you had the grave next to the vending machine?
People keep on like leaving their trash around you because God, how sad. Igari says like, "Look, we don't care. I don't care how qualified or not qualified you are as captain, because you're not. You're just like a puppet that we have in order to keep Niue under control. Nobody's expecting you to do literally anything else."
Yeah, you suck, Gakuro. Like, it's
suck.
It's a slight level away from the way we speak about Gakuro, which is like, you suck, Gakuro. No one loves you, Gakuro. Your face smells, and I hope you die alone, Gakuro.
Gakuro's hand trembles. Ooh. But then Igari like gets kind of like hunches down. She's like, "You can relax. I wasn't criticizing you."
Those were all just valid comments about your general aura.
She says, "I didn't come here just to visit your dad's grave. That grave, that one too over. They're the graves of subordinates who died because of me. And it happened right around the time that I got promoted to captain. So I'm putting a burden on my comrades by being here right now." also it doesn't accomplish or atone for anything. It's been several years, and I still haven't been able to stop coming here. Gakuro Yajima, be glad that your comrades haven't died. Of course Nue helped out, and Karasu Tengu saved you too, but your first mission was highly abnormal. You had an encounter with a level 4, you eliminated a level 3, and despite all that, all of your comrades are still alive.
Did Karasu Tengu not die?
No. Karasu Tengu was there to help out and hide Gakuro's presence for the last bit where he slashed the
Okay, what's Shiroha's spirit's name?
Oh, the Kuro, yeah.
Yeah,
no, he's fine. He just got
Did he?
Shadow. Yeah, he's fine.
Jesus, okay, cool.
Of course he's fine, Quinn.
Good to know. I thought it'd been really funny if they're like, nobody died except that crow butler, but that wasn't your spirit, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, so she's like, hey, look, your comrades are alive, lucky break or not, you accomplished that. And for a first mission, that's plenty good enough. I said you're not a captain, but I do think you have some potential. I misjudged you when we first met. Good luck. And she walks off and howdy, and
Morning.
So she's gone by the time Shitotsu gets back with the drinks. And then Gakuro says, Shitotsu, I've decided, even if I remain pathetic, and even if I'm scared of my friends getting hurt, the one thing I can guarantee is that I won't stop moving forward. I'm sorry for worrying you. I'm okay now. And when things get tough, I'm hoping to count on you again. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's got he heroic smiles and stuff. And as she's leaving, Igari thinks to herself, she says out loud, he's just like you. And she apologizes to Gakuro's and Shitotsu's father and says, I hope you don't mind if I'm a bit tough on him since he's your son.
It's always amusing when Gakuro tries to act tough. I can't, like, he doesn't have the juice to look cool.
No!
So like, I can't even, like, I can't help but imagine, like, he's, like, in the Virgin Chad meme, even when he's at his coolest, he's still the Virgin. Like, he's still like, I'll never give up and protect my friends. But, like, all the arrows pointed out of his, like, stupid face, doesn't have a good smile, dumb hair, no one loves him.
I don't know. There is something about the way that he is drawn that, yeah, he never seems convincing when he's supposed to be, like, heroic looking or cool looking or in any way supposed to look positive, basically. It all just kind of rings a little hollow when you look at him and realize, like, oh, that's that Gakuro dude doing this.
Like, I just imagine Gakuro ruining cool moments in manga, like him punching St. Charles in One Piece and be like, take that, you jerk!
That all being said, I mean, we get plenty of opportunities to dunk on Gakuro in this chapter, as we do in every chapter. After the part where Ikari just burns him, I do like her speech about being a leader and all the loss that come and the sense of responsibility that comes with that. It's it's that bit in Naruto where you have the headstone with all the names carved in and all that stuff, but it's done in a way that's like it's not beating you over the head with it. It's done in a way that's got good visuals and it's paced out really well, and it leads to a good point that she has about how Gakuro's mission went. It's a good speech.
Yes.
So, thumbs kind of up.
My guy yelling over to him, take him off! Gakuro drops his leg weights, but then he flinches when they make the noise.
Oh, they made a lot of noise!
That was louder than I thought it would be.
I hope they're not broken. I won't get my deposit back.
Suddenly gets it close to Garo. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Anyway, New Exorcist. This is probably one of the best chapters, maybe the best chapter of New Exorcist. I do like that speech, but I do feel like New Exorcist at its absolute best is like a B- kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I just like I don't want to like make anyone think like new Exorcist has turned the corner. It's like I don't know if the series has that ability yet, but this was better than what we've gotten most of the time.
If the quality of the series were all as good as Ikari's speech, I would say this would be New Exorcist's first A chapter.
Sure.
But it's not. There's the Shitotsu stuff. There's the, not related by blood. And then there's Gakuro is in the chapter. So...
Yes. We should also note that the joke at the end of the chapter is Shitotsu being like, wait, Captain Ikari left. She forgot her wallet. She gave me her wallet.
She walked off all cool and then to get her wallet back. It's like, which would, that's actually funny.
Yes.
That's funny. Yes. All right. 2 on Ice.
We should note
25.
We should note before this chapter that the content warning that there is talk of assault in this chapter. So if that is not something you want to hear at all about, make sure to use the timestamps that are included in the bottom of this video to jump ahead. Unfortunately, you're jumping ahead to Elusive Samurai, so keep on jumping a little bit further ahead. Jump on over to Akane-banashi.
There's nothing bad in Akane-banashi.
There's nothing bad in Elusive Samurai beyond its natural blandness. Yeah.
Chapter 25 of 2 on Ice, Bottom of Obermann's Valley. So Hayuma and Kisara, they were getting set to take the ice after Sora did some bad things in his performance before. But we start things off in a flashback to when Sora started skating. And how, the fact is that, like, there tends to be more women, more girls who get into figure skating than boys. So when he joined up a club, his mom was worried that, he would be, like, alone. He wouldn't have a very good time. So she convinced some of the other moms to have 3 boys take the class with him. And this was when they were all very young, like 4 or 5 years old. But Sora says, like, the only time I actually, like, enjoyed myself was when I saw Lawrence, who was part of another club. But I abandoned all my bright and shiny memories at one point, so I don't remember much. My favorite thing was to see the beauty of the rink as all the girls sliced through it with their skates. Also, he's surrounded by rabbits in this shot. Symbolism? I don't know.
Rabbits famously symbolize
figure skating.
Figure skating.
Yeah.
They're the national animal. Nick, when you think about animals, all right, picture this, Nick. You're in a forest. You come upon a frozen pond. It's the middle of winter. Don't ask why you're here. You're being hunted or something. You did a crime you shouldn't have, and the police have chased you here. You're at this forest pond, though. What animal do you see skating across the ice? Because it turns out animals can talk and have a society.
For whatever reason, reindeer sprang to mind immediately.
All right, Nick. Well, if we're not going to fucking play along with the game, then we're not going to have the game, okay? I'm taking the game. It's mine now. You don't get to play.
Okay.
All right, you can play a little bit.
Just fine. Okay. So, what is the answer?
Rabbits.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, and again, because you failed the game, you were caught for the crime that you did commit.
All right. After a few years, all the other guys in the ice skating class, they quit. Some of it was just a matter of, like, being expensive. Some of them just weren't very good, and so they quit because it got too difficult.
Yes.
And then for the last one, this is where it got really bad. So Sora got a lot of attention from all the girls because he was the, young, attractive, very talented boy in the class. And then there was Ryosei. And so they're like, all the girls were like, oh, can I give you some candy? You want some of this? I love you. And so he was like, can I, like, share some of these with Ryosei? Because, like, I'm sure he would like these too. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. But like, Sora went to him and was like, hey, someone gave me a snack. You want to split it? It's like, what? No, don't talk to me. Like, you're always, like, so gloomy, and why are you like that when you've got it all? And afterwards, like, they just kind of, like, stopped being friends. Like, Ryosei didn't want to hang out with Sora anymore because he was, favored by everyone. Everyone liked him, or he was the super popular guy, and he was kind of, just not getting any attention. He was jealous of him. And so as time went on, there was this expectation that Sora was going to be really popular. And so all these parents were pressuring their kids to get on his good side while they had, an early road into that. And so they're like, oh, and Sora practices so most. He practices more than anyone. But Sora just thought to himself, Shota practiced the most. And he quit. Like, yeah, it's not really fair.
Yeah.
And he just thinks, I was born with more than everyone else, and I always benefited from it unfairly. If I could just be thankful for my blessings, I could have had it easy. But I didn't want to become an ignorant or insensitive person. Oh, you definitely didn't become insensitive, my dude. You did not become insensitive. But the fact that he was aware of everything that was going on, like, he didn't prevent anything. He was just, like, more aware of how fucked up it was, and it fucked him up more. I realized feeling upset or like I was suffering was selfish when I'd been blessed with so much. So I decided not to tell anyone. And then we get a shot of him, like, he's all alone in the changing room now because he's the only boy in the club. They've taken a photo together with, like, all the girls swarming around him. And he decides to, like, doodle graffiti over his own face to, like, make fun of himself. And then the door opens, and Sora thinks, I remember thinking someone to come in. After that, my memories go blank for a while, like they're just missing. I can't remember much. The one part that seared into me was hearing a comment right in my ear. Any normal guy would have been happy about this. And then Lauren found me throwing up in the bathroom. And when he was found there, Lauren's like, hey, your mom was looking for you. And when Sora looks up, he is, like, beaten, and he's crying. And Lauren wants to know what happens, and there's just a bunch of stuff that Sora just shouts to him, like all these things that he's been holding inside him for basically his whole life up to this point. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to just, like, be here so that all these women will be happy. Everywhere I go is full of women. I can't get along with them like you do. All the others quit because of me, and he just let it all out. And he confessed, I just want to mess all the girls up. And Laurent told him correctly, but not really helpfully, you can't say stuff like that.
Yeah, Laurent came in with, like, you can't do that, bro, but not the, like, hey, I'm just looking into the future. There's going to be a day where you're going to absolutely, like, humiliate a poor girl in public because it's just part of your grand machinations to find the absolute subservience just so you can get back on one girl. I just need you to know to not do that now. I'm going to try to, like, cut that off at the pass. Yeah, you need to see a therapist, man. Like, this is bad.
And yeah, he tries to get through to him.
Yeah.
In this, but it's a little bit too high concept stuff for this very emotional young boy.
Yeah, who just went through like harrowing situation. Like, this is a situation where somebody should be like, oh, like, we need to get you into, like, therapy to, like, talk about the trauma you just experienced.
Yeah. He should have, the thing that you leave from here, and it's like, I'm not blaming Lauren for not knowing this, because he is also presumably a kid.
Yes.
Like a teenager. But it should have been like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, let's get you some help, as opposed to, he's like, well, actually, you shouldn't be a sexist, Sora. And Sora's just like, I just want to skate like everyone else, and I don't want to, I want to think about whether I could just, like, land jumps like the girls can, and that's the kind of stuff I want to worry about. And it's like, you're just in elementary school, so you don't know yet, but it's rough for the girls too. It's like, no, you're right, this is correct, this is the thing he needs to learn, but not right now. And Sora says, I wish I had been born a girl, which there's a lot to unpack there in terms of gender dynamics and themes psychological issues that Sora has, and also the context of the narrative. Because as we learned, he told Kisara, "It's a shame you weren't born a boy." So, yeah. So eventually, Lawrence says, like, "Hey, did something happen?" And Sora says, "I don't want to talk about it. It's probably another privilege I have. I'm selfish for not being happy. Please don't tell my mom I threw up."
It's brutal. He doesn't think he has a right to even talk about it. It's very painful.
After a while, he joined a club in Tokyo through Lawrence that had more boys in it. And the coach, had their eye on him, of course, too, because he was this, godly talent. But when he was being wished off, Lawrence was just like, "I just want you to enjoy figure skating." So, but that's also where he met the coach, who saw his potential. The more hurt and twisted you become, the more sinfully beautiful you'll be. She was the devil who told me these emotions that had no place were actually valuable, and people will start to listen to you about things you're not allowed to say. Pain and pleasure are similar. The eyes that sear into me while I'm in hell on the ice almost feel sweet. That's it. I'll let art consume my life to show my gratitude and never go to therapy. Oh boy. Stop trying to live your life being a good person is the word that this diatribe ends on. It's so bad.
Yeah, you can see where like the pipeline kind of eventually got to like shouting out, Adam and Eve proverbs as you planned like the grand like downfall of a girl you met like 8 years ago.
It's crazy that like afterwards we see him just like randomly reading a book and he comes across all the Dante's Inferno stuff and he's like, this will be all of my personality now.
Yeah, there's like a moment of him like, yes, my whole personality shall be this from henceforward.
And then he met the young Kisara, who was just a little girl, and his realization was it was like my talent had been copied directly into a girl. She was oblivious and pure, and I wouldn't feel satisfied until I dragged her into hell. And of course we get the beginning of that line that he told to Kisara, "If only you had been born a boy." Then we cut away from there. So there we get kind of like just like a brief montage of like why he hatched this plan to do all this stuff and join pairs and everything. And there's a flashback within a flashback. It was when he was talking to his mom, and it was like, yeah, it was the first time I saw like pair skating. It seemed kind of nice. And his mom was like, "Oh yeah, I love pairs because the women are thrown up in the air and the men have to catch them, and so they're both risking their lives for each other. It's difficult even for married couples to entrust their lives to each other. I think seeing a pair with equal trust in each other is what I like about it." And Sora says, "Would doing pairs make things equal? If someone's born with a lot more than anyone else, would putting their life on the line make them equal?" And his mom looked at him for a second and then said, "I think that the opposite happens first. You fight, you compromise, and at some point, even when you have to risk your lives, you both want to protect each other. And I think that's what makes them equal. I hope someone like that shows up in your life, Takayuki."
Trash girl.
Amazing. It would be amazing if Trash Girl were the savior of this series because she fixes Sora. And now we finally cut to the present.
She just meets him. She's like, "You can spit in my mouth." And he smiles. And then the credits start rolling. I'm like, well, see, this worked out for everybody.
I don't know if it did. Just like Kisara and Hayuma, like, dancing in each other's arms in the background, like, yeah, we did it! And then the foreground is the two of them, like...
it's like far off silhouette, but you can hear him going, p'too!
And everything worked out okay from there.
Everyone got what they wanted.
Ah. Hayuma and Kisara take the ice. Sora turns to his partner, whom he is just horribly betrayed. And she's like got a stuffed animal out. She's like fully regressed. She's crying while looking at him.
It's such a fucking cruel detail that she is holding a stuffed animal at that point.
And yeah, so Sora's just like looking at her just the same way he was looking at her before, and he just thinks to himself, yeah, this isn't what about being right or wrong. I know what I'm doing is wrong. My heart is screaming at me for the life I'm living. It hurts. This is suffocating. All of this is wrong. And yet he's doing it anyway. And yep. So that's our chapter. More walking in the mind of Takayuki Sora because, hey, he's the best thing that this series has going for it. So let's...
Yeah. So I do... I'm trying to want to figure out how I want to phrase this. This is a very interesting chapter. And I appreciate that there is a candidness to kind of exploring Sora's particular brand of misogyny. Like it's a fascinating thing. I just said there's details. His line, I wish I had born a girl, is something that I'm like, there's a lot that could potentially come from there. In a series that has certain levels of like gender essentialism to it, where it's like, no, this is what the guy's role is and the girl's role is in this sport and everything like that. I am not against the idea of like, I think it is cool to see this exploration of Sora's character, which has gotten justifiable to a level where before it was like cartoonishly like, why do you hate this poor girl so much? And now you're like, oh no, I get why you do, like, in a way that is fascinating, because Kisara, we learned nothing more about Kisara in this chapter. We just now understand Sora's viewpoint of everything, and why he's so upset about what he considers someone born in a girl's body who had all of his level of talent. And I think there is something very interesting. I think I'm still chewing on some of it, but for a series that, as we've talked about, is almost assuredly ending soon, I feel like Sora is going to be its legacy, because he is just far more interesting than anything else. Like, I wish I cared this much about our leads. So, you know,
there hasn't been much more to chew on for Hayama and Kisara's relationship than what we got in like the first couple of chapters of this series. As an actual sports pair, yes, they've made progression. There are some little things that are nice where they demonstrate, like, where, you know, like Hayuma picks up on like, oh, this is what's the task of the male and the pair is to make sure that, you know, that you protect your partner and everything. There is that level of, you know, they have to be more comfortable with being physically close and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but there's not a lot about the internal stuff that they've got going on that we learn about. They're still basically just the same kids that have just learned more. They haven't really changed as people in the time that they've known each other, except for the fact that Kisara, you know, has grown more comfortable with like having a dream and having Hayuma, you know, be there with her to do stuff. But that was, again, stuff that we kind of got through really quickly. So yeah, it has definitely been the most interesting when Sora's been involved in this. I think that a lot of the stuff that we've had going on here, it's going to depend on what the follow through is.
Yes.
It seems like we're now taking the route where Sora's defeat is going to be him being in some way saved, because he has suddenly become much more sympathetic through this chapter. So it seems like the victory is like getting him to acknowledge that like he shouldn't be like doing this to people,
Yes.
as opposed to just beating him in a competition. We will see how that goes, and how satisfying that payoff is. And I think that depending on that, that's going to really reflect on how we feel about this particular turn that the series takes, because it goes much more into a humanizing turn for Sora as opposed to the much easier to enjoy aspect of him, which was him quoting Bible passages and just being a real shithead.
Yes.
So we'll see how things go from here.
Very, very much so. You put that very eloquently.
The Elusive Samurai, Chapter 150, Full Metal, 1338.
Nick, I read this chapter. You could put a gun to the back of my head right now, and you're like, tell me a single thing that happens in this chapter, and I could not. I know I read it. I could not give you a single detail about what happens in this chapter.
And unfortunately, this is mostly to do with the fact that this is a chapter that focuses exclusively on the antagonists of Elusive Samurai and not the fun ones.
Yeah.
Because most of those are dead by this point. This is largely a Moronow chapter, and I feel like the most interesting detail we get from it is that apparently he fucks. Not only does he fuck, but he fucks other dudes' wives and then kicks them out so that he can cook. So
A man should have his hobbies, though, Nick.
yes, yeah. There is a bit where like he like makes this like this food, and then he bentos it up and puts it under a guy's head in order to step on his face. Okay, all right. He's thinking it to himself about, you know, like the information that he got from Natsu, which is actually the fake information that Gemba gave them. He thinks that armies are weaker when they're spread out more, like dough, when he's, you know, eating dough. Yeah, he makes metaphors and stuff. Then he goes out and carries out some more of his attendant duties by executing a bunch of dudes, and then forgiving one guy and kicking him in the chin instead. And feeds some food to Takauji, and then reveals to Tadayoshi that he got some artisans to fashion a golden statue of the Mikado, so that it's on wheels, so they can just like transport it around and have a statue of the Mikado and stuff. And he even says, soon the current Mikado will abdicate in favor of this golden Mikado. And Tadayoshi's like, wait, what are you talking about? You gonna dethrone him? No, not dethrone. He's going to abdicate, because the golden Mikado, he looks better than the real Mikado, and he's more valuable. Okay. So Tadayoshi's like, what? No, that won't work. You can't have a statue be the shogun. And he's like, do you know why the Kamakura shogunate fell? Internal conflict? No! Their squabbles are of no consequence, and not one of them unbalanced the land. The cause of Kamakura's ruin was overvaluing men such as this. The useless nobles enjoy lives of leisure on income collected from land the warriors defend. They demand the shogunate resolve problems for free. The warriors then turn their dissatisfaction with the costs and the effort involved toward the shogunate, which must even mediate in the imperial household internal conflicts. The resulting resentment is what eventually shattered the reign of the former emperor. The cost of feeding all those layabouts led to decay, and I will initiate reforms. Politics! This is what we want in our shonen manga. Politics about Edo Japan. Yes! Outdated, old government politics that in like really boring talks, instead of like, you know, like showing like what people do and stuff. No, here's a statue. Cool. Anyway, there's tension between Tadayoshi and Moronow. That's just kind of the point.
Cool. I'm sure this is a good chapter.
It's not.
Okay. I've just noted before that like once the series gets like super into like Japanese history and the villains that I don't care about, my brain just like turns off.
Yeah.
Like it's just empty at that point.
The most interesting thing I feel like happens at the very end, because Tadayoshi is, talking with some of the other generals, and they talk about how, Ienaga's dead, but he left all these plans in place for us and stuff. He asked Suisugi how he died, and he's like, oh, well, he was calm and collected, 2 steps ahead of everyone else. He was like you. But Tadayoshi, tears up, and he's like, you were wrong about one thing. You thought that I would not weep upon your death. It's like, aw, they cared about each other. I guess?
Sure.
Was that really well established? I don't know. But I guess they cared about each other. Okay.
Remember
anyway,
the thing where they were in the current day world?
They were in high school.
Yeah, they were a band or something.
Guess. All right. Let's move on from there to Akane-banashi. Story 103, Tension and Release. So Akane is observing as Taizen has taken the stage, and everyone feels this immense tension filling the air. They don't want to breathe. And then Taizen starts telling a story, and he just goes right into it. No preamble or anything like a lot of Rakugo could do. He just says, "Why they tell all 36 tenants at this row house to meet up? It's so he can demand money. The landlord wants the rent. He's taking rent, even though he's the landlord." And just like he cuts this weird face, and everyone just and we get this explanation, which is tension and release. So everyone feels this incredible tension, and then it's broken with a sudden joke. You laugh because you feel relieved in that moment. And so because he has this incredible tension that he applies with this suffocating air, he releases it, and everyone immediately just feels compelled to laugh. And there's just this burst of it. So this is how Taizen, the very scary, serious guy, is also very funny. Because there's this very serious guy suddenly just like telling a joke, and it just catches you off guard. And I love that just very simple dissection of his comedy style.
I'm actually very glad about this, because I was really concerned that Taizen's style was going to be like, I'm a super serious guy, but when I go up on stage, I get a little bit wacky. And there would just be a bunch of like silly faces, which it doesn't seem to be. Like his countenance seems to be the same throughout it.
Right.
He just makes it comedic.
Yeah, and he'll do a little, but he's still like he's not like changing the way that his.
He doesn't become like Jim Carrey or something.
Yeah. As he is performing, he thinks, of course, about Zensho and his relationship with him and how he has instructed him: do not give a recommendation to any of Shigemu's pupils. This is a master's order. You must obey. And he reflects on how he has come to know Zensho, how he's sensitive, fickle, unfair. He never cajoles or flatters. Being hated means nothing to him. He is selfish to the greatest extent, and therefore there is no falsehood. His words are sincere, and thus they cut deeply into the listener. Discipline means withstanding unfairness. So when Zensho told Taizen, this is all your fault, he was not just bullshitting him then. Taizen actually, that's why he took that to heart, is because he knows Zensho Noel and knows he doesn't fuck around. That's what he thinks.
Yeah.
So he has all this time been thinking, it's not enough. Not enough suffering. I refine my art in the midst of unfairness. Not enough suffering. It's done, that path. Being able to go out with Chocho and, I've forgotten his Rakugo name. Shinta. Yeah, that's what he was. But he's like, yeah, it's done. Suffering. That path is long since closed. And then Akane has appeared. And then, of course, Shinta came back to say, you're taking this too seriously. It's just Rakugo. And Taizen continues doing his story about the landlord and the tenants. And he says, like, oh, you've all been late on your rent payments for quite a while. How long have you gone without paying? 9 months, 8 months, 2 years. You've got a lot to make up. And what about you? I'm at One. Well, that's not so bad. 1 month of rent is that's perfectly normal. No, it's not that. If it had just been 1 month, I'd be bragging about it. What was it then? Like half a year? No. 1 year? A laudable fee. 3 years? No. 5 years. The landlord himself would come to thank me if it were 5 years. How long have you been going without paying your rent? How long? Well, I only paid him the one time when I moved in, so it's been a cool 18 years for me. I wish I could be this guy and get away with this. 18. Big laugh for that one. And now Tyson thinks to himself, Master, I was foolish for wavering. I will follow in your footsteps. And Zensho has appeared on the opposite edge of the stage from Akane to watch the show. And Tyson finishes the thought, I will follow in your footsteps and act on my own whims. And as he thinks that, Chocho's observing and he reacts to something, and he starts to remember a time when the three of them were hanging out together and promised that they would do something together once they were all Shinichi, which of course never happened.
Mm-hmm. Good chapter. It looks like Tyson is going to open up a little bit. He's maybe going to follow a little bit of Akane's guide and maybe not play as rigid and just not take Rakugo so goddamn seriously, which is good. Good chapter.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, One Piece! Set sail!
Let's talk about One Piece, Nick. This is chapter 1111. 11111. This is Sun Shield. So we open with Mars, who has just broken through the barrier in the Labosphere. He flies down. Jinbei sees him and is like, what the fuck is this guy? This thing has preposterous haki. Zoro, are you done? And Zoro is not done because Lucci, despite that, taking that attack basically full on, is not down for the count. He is still standing. And Jinbei's just like, you already won, dude. Let's get out of it. Grab Zoro. He's like, we're already out of here.
No, I have to beat him. No, yeah. Come on.
To keep Lucci from like chasing after him or anything, he uses a 5,000 brick chop and kind of like separates them through the smoke and everything like that. And as immediately upon that kind of like concluding, Mars shows up to Lucci and says, where is York? Lucci,
no bullshit.
Lucci,
no.
Yeah, Lucci goes straight into work mode, and he's like, York is still tied up in the control room of the 4th building of the building A. By the way, the Straw Hats that are currently on loose is Jinbei and Zoro, who you just saw. There are 5 other members of the Straw Hats and 2 Vegapunts that are preparing to escape from the back exit of the Labosphere. There are also a bunch of Cypherpult agents and Seraphim in the basement of the lab. Vegapunt's message resumes in 6 minutes. And Mars is just like, good. No further questions. And starts flying off. When Lucci's like, hey, my partner is still gravely wounded in the command room. Could you please spare his life? And Mars is just like, nah. Mars is like, probably not possible. One does not attempt to step on insects. It simply happens. It's good to know.
These are cool guys. These are good guys.
It's good to know all of the Gorosei apparently think of humans as insects. That's like a common thing. But I also do really like that Lucci is concerned for Kaku. There's a moment where I'm like, it feels like that side story about Lucci just got forgotten. Right. But the idea that he really cares about his comrades is a part of that. So that's a cool detail there. And I think is maybe that catalyst to a somewhat Lucci face turn that we've been thinking. Cut back over to Luffy, who is reunited with Dory and Broggy. I wanted to combine their names for a moment. It was like Jabroggy. Jabroggy. And they're like, wow, we didn't even recognize you. Wow. How did you know about the form of the god spoken of at Elbath? And Luffy's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they're like, your outfit, it pleases us greatly. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but we'll talk about it later.
I wonder if that's just going to be a thing through literally the entire rest of the series, as the people keep on mentioning. He's like, you're a neat guy, like the sun god. Yeah. Like, Don't know who that is.
Yeah.
All the way through to the end, fulfilling prophecies left and right. It's like, oh, you people are rising up because the god Nika has returned. Oh, really? Where is he?
Yeah, that should be the last panel of One Piece. Huh? Where? Mercury is there alongside Jupiter, and they're like, giants and Nika, this is a bad combination. They note that the giants note, they're like, these guys are bigger than the animals in our forests, but we don't need to fight them. Let's go. We get, of course, the map that you get in a One Piece arc that is run for this long. We see where everyone is. Basically, there's the group on the Labosphere who needs to get to the ship. And then there are 3 different sort of legs of people trying to escape on the ground level. It's worth noting.
And also Nami and Usopp are on the upper level, too.
Yes. Well, that's what I meant with the group up there. It's worth noting that Bonnie and Frankie, I thought, like, maybe this was just a Mandela effect. I thought there was a shot of them getting on the ship before. But as we see in this chapter, they're very close, but they're not quite there. I don't know which one this is. I'm going to say Bragi.
I believe that Baragi's the tall one, I want to say.
Blows on the horn, basically sounding the retreat for everybody. So giants across the island.
That's sorry.
Whatever. One of them blows on the horn, so everyone knows that they're like, all right, they found Straw Hat, time to withdraw. So they all start pulling back. They're like, don't even bother attacking these warships. They don't even have treasure anyway, so let's get out of here. Mercury hears this and it's like, an escape signal? All right, then I'll have to make my own warning sound. A warning not to escape. And he makes a tremendous roar with Conqueror's Haki that is so powerful, it blows like all of Luffy's defining features off, like his hat, his sandals, but also his scar blows straight off of his body. And the island visibly shakes from this action. Luffy's just like, that was really close. And Mercury attacks, and the 2 giants block it with their shields. And Mercury's just like, we have a lot to settle with your kind. Do you even know who this is? And the 2 giants respond, of course we do. He's a friend. Aww. And they smack. Very, very cool, sweet moment. Saturn says, he must be crushed before you call him something else and eradicated from history. And he spits out a bunch of pellets. And Luffy sees it. He's like, watch out. It's going to be poison. So he reaches out. He grabs a tree. Full cartoon mode. He starts chewing on the tree to refine it down into a bat that he instantly paints. Then he puts on a little batter's hat and he swings and knocks all the pellets away. And he's like, ha, enjoy a taste of your own poison. And then they all explode. And he's like, oh shit, one poison. Which, I don't know why he assumed it was going to be poison. Like, they hadn't done... they hadn't done poison stuff really to that point. But a very, very funny little silly moment. They're like, okay, well, that's good that it exploded. You just took care of those guys. And Luffy's like, no, they're like fucking immortal or some shit. Like, they're definitely not done. Oh, right, the tendrils are poisoned. That's right. So like, all right, well, let's get out of here. We don't know what the fuck this guy is. We just see a bunch of like collages as Jinbei is trying to get to Nami's group. They're ready to kind of get going. The group carrying Bonnie gets to the ship, but some of the vice admirals are there. Sanji is carrying Vegapunk. Mars shows up, just bursts into the fucking room where York is. And again, she's like nailed to the floor. And he's just like, where's the room on the monitor?
She's like, ah!
She understandably just starts screaming because this fucking monster bird just broke into the room and started asking questions of her. Cut over to Kizaru, who is laying on one of the Navy battleships. They're like, let us see your wounds. And he's like, am I wounded? Yes, deeply wounded. He's talking about emotional scars, though. And he has to just let him rest. And we end this chapter, Nick, with the giant robot that has been fucking chilling out on the bottom of the island and then woke up for I think at least a year now. They teased that robot like woke up. It's been a long time. I was almost gonna put together a list of all the things that have happened in our world since that fucking giant woke up. But I decided to take a nap instead. Anyway, the robot's up. It's moving. It still hasn't done anything yet, but it is physically in.
It's moving.
The location. Yeah, it is physically moving now. And they just note that the giant creature is standing in the flames, groaning about something, and we see the text of the robot thinking, "Sorry, Joy Boy."
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff is happening now. I do like how with the different elders, they're all doing different things while this is happening. So we've got, a couple of them are trying to chase after Luffy. We got Mars going after York. We had Uranus, I want to say.
Venus is the one on the horse
Venus.
who's like cutting down.
Cutting every that one down. So there's only really one that we haven't seen.
Well, it's there's
sandworm.
Yeah, Jupiter, whose head got cut off. But I presume he's just going to come back up.
He'll be fine.
He's probably digging around somewhere to fuck something up or something like that.
Yeah. I also like how what's the Warthog ones?
Mercury. Technically Wargery, but Mercury.
Right. I like how he makes his tusks turn into katana blades midway through this chapter. It's a cool choice.
Oh, it is. So, yeah, sorry. You do get to see him. I thought this was just Wargery's face, but you can see in the panel where all of them are getting up, we can see that Jupiter is also there because there's like the big X scar. I just thought that was Wargery's face for some reason.
Oh yeah, so it is. Yeah. This is cool stuff. I like how ridiculously cartoonish Luffy just gets to do anything now. He's Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
With all this. And that robot's finally shown up.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
Yes, I can't wait for that robot to do something. I was about to say in a month, but One Piece is off for a month. I do not think the robot's going to do something next week. I feel like we're still going to wait. So I feel like sometime this summer, the robot will do something.
One Piece is going to be going on break for the next several weeks. It will be back at the end of April.
Yes.
So we will pick things up then.
3 weeks off, one chapter, Golden Week, and then off again. Or no, back then. Sorry.
Right. And what would you say was your favorite chapter this week, Quinn?
Yeah, so my favorite chapter this week, I think, is Blue Box. This was, I have to admit something, Nick. I read the first group of Jump chapters this week after taking an edible. Many of the details didn't come back to me until we read them in this recap. But Blackbeard, Blue Box was legitimately one that even in the moment I was like, this is a great fucking chapter, and read it again, it's great again. We love sports series. There's a lot of chapters I think were really, really good this week, but I think Blue Box is the one I'm remembering the most.
Yeah, and we definitely had some other good chapters this week. Akane-banashi was good. One Piece was good. Green Greens was good. But I am going to agree on Blue Box. It feels like the easy choice. It had the most impact out of everything this week. Very, very simply put. But I do love the way that it goes down because this is, our protagonist wins, but it doesn't feel like a moment of triumph because we know that another character that we have come to like because he's a cool, nice guy. His high school sports dream is just over.
Yeah,
it's not really going to be a great tragedy as a result of that, but from the way that we've had it set up and he's talked about it. But even so, this, it sucks.
Yeah,
he's done playing badminton, which he says in this chapter it was really fun for him. He liked doing it. He's just not going to do it.
The page turned from I love this, it's fun, it was fun, is brutal. My character of the week is going to be Sora, though, from 2 on Ice, who has won it. This is the second week in a row for Sora, but for 2 very, very different reasons. Sora.
And I'm going to give mine to Ichico because she stared down one of the most powerful beings in the world and was like, no, I won't die. Screw you.
This was a good week for characters. There are a lot that I feel like you could nominate. Chico is a really, really good one. The audience, by the way, picked Blue Box as chapter of the week, and Language from Undead Unluck is the character of the week, which I can totally understand. Language very intimidating in this chapter.
How does she talk with all those sharp teeth?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think somebody who gets their teeth filed down to be like points, do you think like sounds are different in their mouth?
Well, your tongue, has to go against your teeth in order to form certain syllables. So the fact that she's got not just filed down teeth, but like teeth that go all the way up to the other side of her, from floor to ceiling and vice versa, that would have to affect the way that you would talk.
Yeah.
Because you kind of basically constantly need to have your jaw a certain amount apart. You wouldn't be able to close it all the way. So
well, I disagree with your assertion that we need to use our tongue against our teeth to make sounds. I'm going to prove this to you. I want right now. It's elegant. Fuck you. Just fuck you and your science. I hate you.
Goodbye, everybody. This has been Weekly Manga Recap. We will see you all next week here on twitch.tv/RoloT, where we record the shows live Wednesday evenings, usually starting around 7:30 Eastern Time. You can also check out our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com for all of our audio episodes. You can also check those out in some podcast feed type places like iTunes, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. Video versions are on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. We have occasional title card art posted along with them by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out by searching for Steve Man Art. Our opening sequence on the video version is done by Malajack Stillitz and Lizadelle Cheddar. Thank you guys for that cool stuff. And if you want more Weekly Manga Recap, you can head on over to patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. Get some monthly bonus episodes, including one where I talked to Quinn about a weird Spider-Man story arc and the fallout from it. Fallout? Not Fallout.
Now you're just teasing.
Attempted spin-off of the event.
I was gonna say, now you're just teasing April's episode, Nick. There will be a new episode. It'll be out very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. It is a very, very good. It even has a series name too. So stay tuned for that.
Established the new series name that for the side thing on Patreon, and we also want to thank everyone who supports us on Patreon, guys. Thank you so much for that kind of thing. You get month bonus episodes if you subscribe over on there. We also want to thank Ninja X3i for putting together a whole bunch of stuff, helping us out, keeping track of stuff on the Google Doc, which is linked basically wherever you can find this. The Discord server is available wherever this is posted, and from there you can find the Google Doc, make recommendations for future series for us to cover, ask us questions which we'll answer on a future Q&A episode, vote for favorite series and MVP week to week, all that fun stuff. And we are going to be doing something special in probably about a month's time. That Ninja XDI is also done a lot of work in organizing this.
I'm scared of it because I've seen a couple of our audience members talk, not about the questions obviously, but they've just given everyone's like, "Fuck, that was hard." So I'm expected to be just thoroughly embarrassed on stream when this happens.
You think that you guys thought it was hard. We do this show like off the top of our heads and then forget about most of it. Like
I don't retain anything. Ninja was like, here's a list of things you should probably study ahead of time. And I was like, I mean, I don't appreciate you pandering to me, but yes, I will take
Thank you. Thank you.
We talked about Full Metal Alchemist. You're like, Quinn, that was this year. You gotta. that was one of the big ones. That wasn't this year. That was last year, right? This is what I mean. I legitimately don't remember anymore.
No one tell her. All right, that's gonna do it, everyone. We'll catch you all next time for Weekly Manga Recap.
Bye.